All right. Next on the list, I'll do the Hail Caesar one. This one actually, like, I was texting with you about this deck and the upgrades and all that, and I might do the similar thing that I did to the Morph deck from the last Precon, where I might do my upgrades and the unlimited upgrades and make this deck. So, Caesar Legion's Emperor, one colorless, red, white, and black for a 4/4 human soldier. Whenever you attack, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, choose two. Create two 1/1 red and white soldier creature tokens with haste that are tapped and attacking. You draw a card and lose a life, or this deals damage equal to the number of creature tokens you control to target opponent. So the cool thing is you could just attack with one creature, and then you can sacrifice not even the creature that's attacking. It just you have to sacrifice another creature. That's not this, because it's saying sacrifice another creature. And then you create two more.
And this doesn't have to be attacking.
Right.
It's just whenever you,
Whenever you attack, you get to do this. So I kind of wanted to go the route of, again, this is aristocrat kind of thing where you're sacrificing creatures coming into play, doing damage around the board, and at the same point getting your tokens bigger and bigger and bigger. I'll get to that in a second. So in this, I did cut a lot more. I cut 12? Yes, 12 cards. So in this, all right, both bobbleheads, got rid of those. Survivor's Med Kit, I don't like that card either. Wild Wasteland, Fervent Charge, Marshal's Anthem, Vault 11, Stolen Strategy, Anguished Unmaking. I always end up doing that with spot removal stuff. Wear and Tear, Heroic Reinforcements, and the Nipton Lottery. So that is one of the newer cards and stuff there. So I got rid of 12 cards. I added in 12 cards well, I'll get to the total here in a second. So again, like I said, we're going to have the budget part, which is going to really help this deck out a lot by your creature tokens dying, your creatures coming into play, doing a lot of damage. I would really say with this one, the Mr. Unlimited part is Mr. Unlimited Worldwide is really where things can get kind of crazy with this deck. So if you have the cards or you have the budget to do it and you want to build this deck, look into some of those cards here. But for $20 or less, here's some of the stuff that you can put in the deck.
Was it $20? What was?
It's less than $20. Don't worry about
it. Is it?
Yeah. The Cathara's Crusade right here is the most expensive card on the list. It has to go in here. Like, that was the one I'm like, out of the card. I know you don't like it because that, but look at what your commander's doing. You're creating two creatures with the sacrificing. So
I would choose not to.
You're actually making.
If you draw a card and the damage every time.
You're popping everything up 2 counters because your 2 tokens are coming into play. This is just a must-have. It's an $11 card. So this is by far your most expensive card in here. Everything else kind of stays lower in this, but this is just a fantastic one in this deck. Anim Packle Thousandth. That's funny.
She can't even read.
Those are names. I can say however I want to say. And then Thousandth Moon. But whenever you attack with one or more non-gnome creatures, put a 1/1 counter on this. Then create X 1/1 colors gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, where X is the number of 1/1 counters on this. So all your other stuff are not gnomes. You're attacking. This gets counters on it. You create more gnomes. You can sacrifice one of those gnomes to pump up your command or do the commander's ability, because it is whenever you attack with one or more, whenever you attack. So you can stack it with this is happening first. It creates those gnomes. Then when you're going to resolve the other one, you sacrifice one of those. It creates 2 more.
I'm just going to say that, at least for me personally, I didn't realize that is how thousandth was spelled.
Yeah,
I didn't realize the D stayed. I thought it was like thousandth.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's what I was like.
I think that's what I'm supposed to say, and maybe people pronounce the D more, but I did not.
You learned something.
Just admitting that live.
No, I didn't know it. Obviously,
I had to look it up.
reading.
I was like, those are all words. They're not.
They're not making that one up.
Not making that one up.
So this one is just helping produce more tokens, and that's kind of what I also mixed in here. Is you need to have some tokens to sacrifice. The stuff that's in the deck, they're doing the squad stuff, so you're making multiples of them, and you can sacrifice those. But I wanted to make more tokens that are token fodder, so you can get rid of them. So it's not creatures that you like to have in play. Get rid of those tokens. So this helps rebuild that army. Next is Cruel Celebrant. So this is just whenever another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses life, you gain a life. There's a few of those in this 12 cards here. Dreadhorde Invasion. It's your budget Bitter Blossom, which Bitter Blossom is in the Mr. Unlimited section. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life, and then you amass 1 where you're making zombie armies. And then if your zombies have a power of 6 or greater, they gain lifelink, which you're never going to get to that. You're using these to sacrifice and do all their fun stuff. Ellis Ilkor Sadistic Pilgrim. It's 2. It's a white and a black. Death Touch whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control. So you're getting those 2 tokens that are coming in. You're going to gain 1 life for each. And then when another one dies, each opponent loses life. Blood Artist, I like it, but I don't at the same point because it's a target player. I love hitting everybody equally. I love pissing everybody off equally instead of just being like, I'm going to take you down a notch. So Blood Artist, I did not add in this. You can if you want to. I know a lot of people like to. It's kind of that kind of deck. But yeah, so just... It's one thing I don't have in this, and I don't even think I put it in Mr. Unlimited section. Lenda, the Dusk Rose, is now like $1 and change card, which this card was like, what, 10, 15 bucks at one point until they reprinted the crap.
One point, yeah.
But you're killing your creatures, and it's whenever another creature dies, not just another one of your creatures, is anybody's creatures. Put a 1/1 counter on this, and then when she dies, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink, where X is the amount of, or what her power is. So you're sacrificing your own stuff. She's just going to get naturally big. At some point, you can use her as your sacrifice fodder there and get more 1/1 creatures out there and start using those. You're going to like this one because it's one of your babies. But Ishin, 2 heavens as 1. So you're just getting a double attack trigger off of your commander. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control the trigger, it triggers an additional time. So you're getting to use your commander's ability twice because it's an attack trigger. And that's just fantastic. And for me, this is kind of funny because I always cut Mentor of the Meek when we're doing these decks. But I've added Mentor of the Meek in the last 2 budget commander decks because it fits perfect in this because you're making 2 1/1 creatures. So it's not casting. It's when they enter the battlefield. You pay 2 mana, you're drawing 2 cards off of that. Plus, if you're using the draw ability off your commander, you're drawing 3 cards off of 1 creature attacking. I think that's pretty good. So Mentor of the Meek makes it in this deck, and it's super cheap because it's printed like crap, or printed in everything and anything. Mirkwood Bats, love this card. You're making tokens, you're sacrificing tokens. Anytime you make tokens, everybody loses, or each opponent loses life. Whenever you sacrifice tokens, each opponent loses a life. So this is just working back and forth.
So at least 3 a turn. Yeah. Where you're...
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because you're sacrificing 1, you get 2 in return.
Likely sacrificing a token.
Right, I was about to say that. It has to be a token, but you're at least getting 2 life loss in there. How would you say this? Nayali? Nayali Sun's Vanguard? That's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
Attacking tokens you have double strike, so you're helping kind of wipe. It's kind of maybe your meat force killing everybody. But whenever 1 or more tokens you control attack a player, exile a top card of your library. During any turn you attacked with a token, you may play that card. So it doesn't leave, if you don't play it that turn, maybe you attack with a token the next turn, you can cast anything that's off of that. So it's a little card advantage. And it's helping your tokens out by giving them double strike there. Sir Conrad and Zulaport Cutthroat, both of them are doing the death trigger kind of thing. Whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life for Zulaport. Sir Conrad's just fantastic because whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature leaves the graveyard, Sir Conrad deals 1 damage to each opponent. So both these are just, I'm ramping up the killing your creatures and getting a benefit of hitting the board without having to swing through. You could go a route of anthems. There's already anthems in this, and that's kind of what Cathar's Crusade is, in a way, is what I was doing there. So I like these cards to hit everybody down at once and then eventually go in for the kill. Now, total $18.12. Now remember, $11 is Cathar's Crusade, so everything else is pretty cheap.
Everything's pretty cheap there. Yeah.
So you're under what, $7 for all that. But now we get into Mr. Unlimited.
Mr. Unlimited.
There's a lot here.
Well, bud.
There's a lot here. 19 cards. We're just go
19
quick with some of these. The ones that are known, I'm just gonna read them and not say what they do. But like Adeline, I really wanted to get this one in there. But it's like a $5 to $7 card, I think, at this point. But her power is equal to the number of creatures you control, and then whenever you attack for each opponent, create a 1/1 human creature token tapped and attacking that player or planeswalker you control. So with her, you can use that token to sacrifice to get more tokens from your commander's ability, because it's the attack. You just stack it the right way so that you're attacking using her ability first. Use one of those tokens that is attacking a player that it's going to die to anyways. Sacrifice that, get 2 more tokens. Fun stuff right there. Chroma's Will, it's a good game winner right there. Anointed Procession, just you're making tokens. Let's make more of them. Bitter Blossom, I mentioned that earlier. Get your tokens generating, or getting more tokens to sacrifice. Black Market Connections gives you some, Black Market Connections. If you're playing black, you should almost have this in that deck. Charismatic Conqueror, this is an all-star in this, because if people are playing creatures or artifacts, you're going to get your sack fodders with the 1/1 vampire token lifelink dudes. This is just, it's great in this. And I put this in decks where you're not dealing with tokens and stuff, but in this, it's perfect. So if you don't have it, get this one in this deck if you can. Clever Concealment, so you can tap, Convoke, you can tap your stuff for protection. Flawless Maneuver. Again, Grave Pact, you're sacrificing, make everybody else sacrifice. You could put in Butcher of Malachor in here as well. It's 7, so it's a little bit, and this is 3 black, so it's a little bit harder with that too. But it's a good card.
Dictate of Erebos could be a nice middle ground. And
that's a good point there too. Grim Hireling, if your creatures are dealing damage, you're getting treasure tokens. Mondrak, you're getting more tokens. Again, it's like your Anointed Procession. Moonshaker Cavalry, could be your game winner because you're making a bunch of little guys. So that'll just help you. It's like your Crater of Behemoth. Myrel, I want to kind of stop and talk about really quick.
Okay.
But Myrel, the bonus part is during your turn, opponents can't cast spells, activate abilities, artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. That's fun. But whenever she attacks, create X11 artifacts, creature tokens, where X is the number of soldiers you control. Your commander is creating soldiers. There's a lot of soldiers in this deck. So Myrel is fantastic, and hindering your opponents during your turn is fantastic. So if you can get this one, but this is a $20 card, so her and herself is already over budget. O'Hare, how do you say these?
I think it's O'Hare.
O'Hare.
Again, but I could be very wrong on that. Let's just give it a good old
button. He can't even read.
There we go. Making more tokens. There's a lot of making lots of token cards at this point. So you got a lot of choices. They're just a little expensive. Ophiomancer, you're making your snakes. Perforos, again, you're playing creatures doing lots of damage. Roaming Throne, Teferi's Protection, and then one new card is, it does a similar things to the ones before, but War Leader's Call. This gives you, it's an anthem, but then whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So you're getting your 2 damage spread around, and it's an anthem. Great card.
Did that come back down, or is it still like a $10 card?
$7 to $8 card at this point. Ugh. So
glad I got one, but
good for you. So yeah, okay. That is that deck.
So you're using your tokens and turn it a little bit into aristocrats and making sure everybody gets hit a little bit.
And then eventually,
I'm not going to argue for or against Blood Artist. I will argue against Blood Pact or Grave Pact effects. They suck. they really slow down a deck, even though
I would
you
say
don't have a lot of sack outlets.
I was going to say you're only
that.
You're only sacrificing one thing, so
Yeah.
that's where I would.
And then if other people are blocking and having your stuff die, then they'll feel that kind of pain, and that I find a much more interesting decision tree rather than like
do I
tokens,
let the damage go
sack
through,
outlet,
or...
sack,
yeah,
wipe the board.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that at least.
No problem. I
Game-wise.
was looking out for you there, buddy. Hey, gang, the best way to support the Commander Smiths is make sure you slap that like button. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel. Also, check out our online store, commandersmiths.com, where we have metal tokens, mugs, t-shirts, playmats, and more.